So this is the issue here. There's not as many nuts as there used to be holding the turbo onto the manifold. So there's a gap there now. And what I need to do is take a load of pipes out of the way so I can actually get some new studs and nuts on there. I've taken the screamer out already, and I just need to undo those 5 nuts holding the pipe, the down pipe on there, and then see how much room I've got to work with, but it's very tight in there. So the only thing I'm holding onto the turbo now are some vacuum lines and stuff, and the turbo feed and drain, but hopefully I can just back this. There's enough there to back this off there. I should be able to just drop the turbo down, remove the old gasket, place the new gasket in, and place the new studs in and stuff. Let's see if I can do that. Taking the old studs out, that one's a bit mauled, but I did use these to take them out. They weren't really that tough to get out. Now I've got 3 of them in here, so you can just see the edge of one there. Last one to go in, and this is the little kit from Mamba. If you want to know what to order, and this is for the hybrid turbo T3 T4, and then this is the T3 turbine side gasket, and this is the remnants of what was left. So that was in there like that, and the rest of it had blown out into this little heat shield thing, which has also had a bit of a hard time. Either way, I'm just going to hand tighten them up with this 4mm Allen, because it's got provision for that, which is nice. And then put the gasket in, and then put the little washers and nuts on, and you see I managed to take out the minimum stuff, so I don't really need to go into the car too much. There's a part number. It's worth saying this is actually a multi-layer, or made out of multiple layers of metal, whereas this thing is just wafer thin, 1 layer and blown straight out. So either way, it's probably caused by the nuts working their way out and then you know, kind of blowing that, but either way this should be much better. I'm just going to place that in now. I've tightened up all the 4 little studs down with the 4mm Allen, put that up in there, and then I've got the washers and these nuts to go on as well. So where I am, taking the wastegate off, and left the gasket back in there. The turbo obviously has its air filter taken off too. The downpipe is just loose, and then I just need to take off the oil feed, so a little fitting there, and then also the oil drain. And then the only final thing I'll need to do is take off this little boost reference of the compressor housing off the boost solenoid. So it's easier to do that than it is to go down there and take that off. So just do that, and then what I'll do is I'll take the manifold off, and that will come out after I've taken these 2 AN10s off, and then the turbo will be free to come out. The first thing I've spotted is underneath here, there's oil on here, and it looks like this is pretty loose. If I get a spanner on it, but you can see basically that's not tight on there, so I'm going to take this off and tighten those 2 against each other. I don't know if at some point they've become loose because they were tight to begin with. Not a big deal, but still needs sorting, so I'll do that once I've taken this off here. So that line taken off for the drain, it's just going into a little box, and then the feed, the 11mm, that's off the top there as well. I've taken the boost reference line off, that's just there from the port on the boost solenoid. So there's nothing actually holding the turbo in now, other than the fact of where it is. So I'm just going to undo these manifold 13mm now. I should be able to just pluck the manifold out after taking the dipstick out. That's the nuts, and 1 stud and a nut out. That's the manifold off. Now the turbo, nothing actually holding it in. So I can just two hands wiggle that out. Right, so the turbo's off with the manifold, and this is what I was saying about these studs. This one actually came out as I undid the little nut, so you can just do that back up with an Allen key, 4mm, and that should be fine. And then the one I'm having issues with is this one down here. That's the one that stopped me just doing it really simply, because it's so close to everything else. So that's a bit of a pain, but should be easier now I've got everything out. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is just quickly wire brush this, so it's nice and clean, gasket surface, and do that on the turbo as well. So those two surfaces are all cleaned up. Can't really do when you're trying to just whack it on and the turbo is still pretty much on the car. I don't know if it really matters which way up, but I'm going to put it this way up. So I wanted to see how close this stud was with, you know, just like that. You can see it's quite close, but it will be fine. Yeah, so it's not touching this part of the bearing housing, so that's good. Now I'm just going to try and get a washer and nut on that, and then pull the whole way around and try and do them up. So they're all on there, just finger tight for now. Now I can easily get a socket on here, double hex. This one's going to be harder. I've actually had to buy a special spanner to get in there and do that up. So I've just cleaned up this surface, which is for the turbo out exhaust. This gasket isn't that great. I tried to clean it up a bit, but I'll probably just get a new one. And that surface looking better. I took out these studs that I bought previously. I bought some more studs and nuts, and this is because this one here has to have a hex head on. You can't possibly get this type of double hex on there, so you know, when you get in with a spanner, at least you've got a chance when you've got a hex head. So I'm going to take that off. You can see here the stud isn't really long enough, so I'm going to replace it with a stud that is long enough, and then hopefully the whole thing will slot together. So you can see here's the Mamba kit I've got with the kind of copper-ish nuts. It's got these ends on that allow you to tighten these studs down or remove them. You can see it here, it's just fouling a bit on the bearing housing. I don't want to do anything about shaving down the bearing housing if I can avoid it, so I'm just going to take a bit off the head of this. So I just need to grind that down a bit, and then just allow it to fit, but it's only a few mil. Okay, so I've ground down the head. You can see it used to look like that. Now it looks like that, but I can still get a 6mm spanner onto the end and just nip that up. I'm going to put the rest of them in, but first I just want to check that that fits in there and has clearance now. That's all of them in. There you can see the bit I shaved down. They're all tightened up with that 6mm spanner. And now I can just place this back on here. We have the nuts as well. They've got a bit of a serration on them, and you can see that. I'm going to stop them from backing out. So I'm just going to put that in place now onto the manifold onto the turbo. As to the nuts going on, you can hear it biting in and it can't come back. So I'm just going to do each of these up, and there's a nice bit of daylight down there between those two, the bearing housing and the end of that stud, and that is that. So new gasket, new studs, new nuts, tighten everything down now, and hopefully everything should be all good. Now I've done each of these 14mm nuts up, I've placed the studs back in for the downpipe. I've actually got a new gasket here, this one, and you can see it's a bit more substantial than this little wafer thin one that wasn't really that great. So I'm going to reuse this gasket. I did buy another one, but it's too small, annoyingly enough. The diameter, if you look, this one's a bit small. Either way, I'm going to reuse this. I've cleaned it up, cleaned the face of this turbine housing up as well. I can just go straight back on there, and then I think I'm pretty much ready to put this back in the car. So I skipped ahead a bit, but I've got the turbo compressor outlet, a silicone pipe on there. I've got my exhaust downpipe on there. I've got the nuts on for the exhaust manifold to cylinder head, so I just need to finish doing these up actually, and then it's just time for the oil drain, the oil feed pipe I need to reattach, and the air in pipe and the wastegate. So nearly there. You remember from before it was a bit of a mess down here because I think this pipe wasn't tightened up fully, so I've just checked the sump plug at the back, that's still tight. This adapter is still tight. It was actually just this collar to this wasn't tight, so I just did it up a little bit more to the flat again, so it was around there, tighten up to the flat, and that's it, that's all done. Now I can just place this back in here for the drain and then go up to the top of the vehicle again. So that's the turbo oil drain all in. Now I'm going to go to my wastegate. I've got this kit which actually has 2 gaskets in it, from Turbo Smart for the 38mm. Got it here. I don't know if it's the same as the one that was originally on it. It looks quite similar, but this one's quite used. So I'm just going to place this one in there, get my wastegate back on there. The heat shield for the silicone pipe going from the compressor housing to the in port on the 4-port boost is there. The wastegate is on there, like that. And then the reason why this comes with 2 of these gaskets in the kit, so obviously one goes from there to the screamer pipe, which is just there, all back together. AN pipes for the breathers back in, turbo oil feed. Just whack this little heat shield pipe back over it. I've got the air filter back in, and everything is pretty much as it was with the new gaskets. So I'm going to drop it back on the deck, check the oil level, and fire it up. Just the level, not too bad. I'll just give it a little slurp, then we should be ready to fire it up. The car has a bit of a problem starting when it's really cold. It is really cold. I mean, it says 0 degrees. At least I've got all new gaskets, everything's tight, and I really just can't wait to use it.